are cool to chill with.
Yeah, well, it's just ironic because of the company that we all keep. I mean, it's like it's funny, like we're all coming from different directions. I think that's very fascinating. Like that we all kind of ended up in a little you know bubble of our own, I guess you'd say. Because yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody, but it's just I know I think I'm the only one on these streams who kind of know like a little bit of where everybody's background comes from, and we just all come from very different traditions, I guess you'd say, which is kind of I don't want to say it's cool, but it's a very unique experience that we're having here, where we can kind of flesh out some
What I think is sick is that
dicey ideas.
nobody really gives in to the other person's views. You know what I mean? Like pretty much everybody that like we can coexist, but nobody's sort of um I you know what I mean, like sort of pushing anybody around and being like you got to
Yeah,
think this way or something, you know.
yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
just funny. It's like yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, the way we grew up is like everybody trying to convert each other. I mean, I know you and I did. Everybody's like, you gotta believe exactly this or fuck you, and it's like kind of weird. That's the way I grew up. It's like,
well, don't get me wrong, like you know I definitely I'm not like trying to compromise my beliefs in any way, you know, and like when I do talk, like I am trying to get people to sort of look in to what I'm saying. I you know, but I
but
don't
you're
feel
not
like
like holding a knife
yeah,
to somebody's throat. Like, you gotta do
right,
this now.
right. You know what I'm saying? Like I try to go about it in a way that sort of opens the worldview up a little bit to be like, huh, maybe I'll consider that, you know? Plant
It's less a
Yeah.
knife
seeds.
to their throat, it's a more knife to their ideas.
Pretty much,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Which is actually more dangerous in a way, though. That's the funny part. Is like actually when you start crumbling people's ideas, I think it's a lot more. It feels a lot more subversive to people than if you actually just like hold them hostage or something, which is kind of bizarre in a weird way. Like people are kind of out of their bodies in a strange way. You know, I mean, maybe you guys know what I mean. I don't know.
I don't hide it, you know. I'm like, like I'm not like I don't go into it saying like, yeah, I'm not trying to convert you. Like, yes, I am, but not for the wrong reasons, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Well, it's funny. Like certain left-hand path ideals, I guess you'd call them. Certain forms of Satanism, they don't really go and try to convert people either, like in the way that Orthodox Christianity also doesn't. Like, they're not out like they try to convert people in a subtle way. They don't try to convert people
No, we're
like
not
in a
on like a
more in a
street
Mormon way
corner
where you're like,
saying,
oh, let's go start the church in the jungle and get everybody into the
yeah, we don't
classroom.
go to the street corners and like, you know, do you want to be saved by Jesus? You know, accept him in your heart right now or something. You know, it's not like that. But which I mean, whatever. More power to people that do that. But um,
I mean,
I
I definitely had
yeah.
an experience when someone tried to have me do that one time, and I would say it definitely helped my life in a way. But also would say that it wasn't like
Did
it's
it
not the way they
last?
just it's not the way they describe it, where it's like yeah, like you said, where it's like well, you just do this one time and everything's just good. Like actually, my life was really difficult for many years
Well,
after
yeah,
that, so
like
it's not like a
you know, they kind
yeah.
of make it out like a one and done. You know, and the difference is like we think it's like a lifelong process. Like you can't just convert someone on the side of a street corner. Like you know, and even when you're a
That,
part of the church, you don't become Orthodox like immediately. You know what I'm saying? There's stages to becoming an Orthodox Christian, and it's either you're all in or you're all out, sort of thing. So it's more of a tangible thing, a state of becoming, I would say. You know, which I know Machine was saying something about that earlier, but
yeah, well, actually, I actually would, I definitely intend to get a very rigorous debate on that very topic. Actually, I've been trying to like bait it for a while, and nobody's taken the bait, and you finally did that, so I appreciate that because I'm not exactly sure what the being versus becoming dichotomy is, but I think that's going to be a very explosive one.
Well, being is like, so what I see it at least is like a lot of people will say things like, that's just the way I am, right? You know? And I don't believe that. I don't believe that we really know who we are as people a lot of the times. Like, and as far as like spiritual deception and stuff, like I think that there's a at least a quality in my own life where I was really prideful and I was saying like, like this is just how I am, and I don't, and I didn't want to change anything, right? But it's like if you're in that state, then you're not really open to learning things new, I guess, maybe something like that.
Well, I guess the way I would look at it, and this is again probably bait, to be honest with you, but the way I would describe it is essentially like, is a beautiful sculpture there already when you start carving away the rock, or does it only exist because you started carving the rock? And that's kind of my trap that I would lay, and I probably will lay if I ever actually have a debate on that. So,
What's funny, Lao Tzu talks about the uncarved block, right? And that's where
really, I
you're
didn't know
trying
that.
to reach.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're trying to reach the uncarved block. And we would say something similar, like, really we're trying to go back to the state that man was in before the fall, right? So that's like kind
Right.
of like the uncarved block in a way.
And
Uh,
and it's not that you can do it in a utopian way. It's that you can, it's that's the ultimate goal or platonic idea or whatever. Again, I'm not saying that it's all syncretistic. I'm just using analogies to get people's mind in the general
it's
vicinity.
somewhere in between syncretism and like it's not as narrow or broad. I would say that. You know what I'm saying? It's like somewhere in
Right.
between
It's
the
it's
narrow and
the
broad.
Tao. It's the way or something. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And again, it's something that I think most people they just have to experience it. Then maybe they'll get an idea of what it is. I mean, for me, when I read the Bible or I read the Tao, it's not really telling me something that I didn't know. It's just showing me what was already there, akin to what we were just saying about the block or something. But I'm kind of curious about Claudia. Do you have any opinion on being versus becoming? Sorry, I'm breathing all heavy. I'm hiking up a steep hill right
I
now.
mean,
So.
I think, well, you can become things, or I mean, just living, you're being a human, but you don't you become different stages of a human during your life.
Can you say that one more time? So you're saying just living your life is kind of just a being?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's like anything like becoming and stuff like? Again, I don't want to out you if you don't want to talk about your belief system, but or even I don't even know for sure that you have one for sure. But I'm just saying like I kind of know some of the crowd you hang out with. So does that influence your belief at all, or is it more of like is it more just like showing you what you already kind of thought you believe or what you already thought?
It's somewhat based on what could already be there by nature, but also you also have to put nurture into it. There's too many factors to be able to say it's all one or the other. Um,
Right. So you don't
but
really look at it as like becoming per se. You think you're just kind of already in that state and it just happens to you.
I
So you
think,
don't really see like transformation as a vital part of your belief, I guess.
well, I mean, we're constantly sort of evolving. I mean, I mean, within a number of months and years, your entire body's cell system is replaced with new ones. I mean, I think I think we, I don't think we change. I think we evolve as people more so.
Okay, that's a very
Sort of,
interesting way to put it.
sort of in a Jungian archetypal way. That's, if that makes sense.
So a Jungian. I'm not the most educated on Jung, but I get a general sense of what you mean.
Yeah, it's kind of like I see it as this sort of mix of Freudian psychosocial development as well as Erickson's theories of the stages of development, and
So it's like the
with sort of
hero's journey or something, right? That was like Young's whole kick, right? It's like
that that's one of the archetypes. Yeah. There's, and I think we either kind of veer towards one that's more suited for our individual wants and needs based off of maybe instinct, maybe just the condition we're under. Who knows?
I was gonna join. When I lived in Brooklyn, there was Young has a school around there. I was gonna join and try to get into Jungian psychology, and I did study a little bit of it. But he has some weird stuff too. Like I'll give you an example. Like he'll talk about Lucifer being the fourth of the Holy Trinity, and then he has like some weird stuff in this red book. Um, that are pretty crazy. And then I found out about I kind of looked into this person called Jiming Sheen, and he was talking about Jung and his Eastern philosophy and like how
No,
like
no, no.
Jung
Sorry, I'm
what
not talking. Sorry. No, I was talking to
oh
my
okay.
son. I'm sorry.
But he was talking about how like Jung sort of was kind of pseudo in his understanding of Eastern beliefs, and like he was like kind of armchair about it. And what I mean by that is like he almost had like a Blavatsky type take
Nope,
on
nope,
them,
nope, nope.
where it's like a westernization of the Eastern beliefs. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Never know.
It's very
So
likely.
who's this with the Blavatsky stuff?
Well, you know how like Blavatsky could sort of like took some of like the beliefs of Hinduism or something else, and then like kind of pushed it into like the Theosophical Society, and it's not necessarily like a pure version of those traditions. It's more like a westernized view of it in a way. Um, that's what I've gathered at least from it a little bit. Like there's truth there to it, right? But they sort of mix it with their Western ideology, which in some sense that could be okay. In other senses, it just kind of dilutes the traditional aspects of whatever religion it is. And I think that's if you talk to like someone like Annapurna or something, like she'll have a major issue with someone taking something from Hinduism and distorting it and turning it into like this new age kind of thing, right? Because it's like she grew up with this tradition and it just feels kind of disrespectful, you know what I mean? And I could relate with that in a certain sense because that's how I kind of view Protestantism or something. It's very similar.
In other words, cultural appropriation. I mean,
Right.
like in a
Right.
basic
Like
form.
that's the way to kind of look at it. You know what I mean? But I mean, um, we're all like will agree with like somebody like Young, and not to like keep talking and stuff, but like he wasn't more prone to be like medication will cure all these things. Like he was more hands on, where he would go into the prison and maybe like actually talk to those people and try to work out whatever psychological issues they have. Now, do I think that's the answer? Probably not. I think that within my own tradition, and like the church is sort of a hospital. So, a psychoanalyst is like a band-aid for where someone should probably go to like a priest to and confess these things, and they would probably have like a more mystical experience that would help the psychological issue, where he kind of doesn't he has a spiritual understanding of it to a certain degree, but he doesn't go all the way to the conclusion of it. He's sort of just like balancing on a coin a little bit.
Well, that's always it's always fun to bounce on a coin.
You said what?
I said it's always fun to bounce on a coin.
Well, yeah, you get what I mean by that, right? Like it's like um he's like
Depends,
half in,
right?
half out with it, like where he'll
Yeah.
like accept a spiritual reality to a certain degree, but then he'll be like, well, that's just archetypes, right? And it's like, well, is it
Well,
really?
well, that's
And
kind
then,
of what I was saying, though. And sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no,
No, I was just saying that's kind of what I was kind of alluding to earlier. Is like now it's like people are less scared of being assaulted than they are having their ideas challenged. Essentially, like their ideas have become people's identities. If that makes any sense, right? And I don't know if that relates exactly to like archetypes or something like that, but definitely, obviously from a Christian standpoint, that's problematic if your ideas are are you. Hello,
Where does he have? He's so tall.
he's a big
well,
boy.
I'll give you an example of something. Like I had a experience with like sleep paralysis, right? And in this experience, like there was like a dark spirit over me, and like I couldn't move, and this thing's biting my shoulder, dude. Right? So it's like biting my shoulder, and I feel this thing biting my shoulder. And within like psychology, they would be like, well, this is at the point of REM sleep where the mind is like half awake and half asleep, and your dream is somehow going like bridging over into reality in some way, and that's why you can feel and see this thing, right? And it's like, yeah, that's a logical, reasonable explanation for some type of supernatural phenomenon. But I think that it's almost like that. Yeah, it's logical and reasonable, but I think it's explaining away an actual spiritual reality, where it sort of just throws out the possibility that this thing could be real. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's a little bit of ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's give me a one sentence summation of what you're saying. Like what's the one sentence version of that?
I think he's.
What I'm
I think what
saying
he's trying to
is,
say.
oh, go ahead.
I think what he's trying to say is Young didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater completely and go towards one side or the other. He tried. He seemed to have sort of a balanced take to try and view things with, which technically speaking, as someone in that field, he is somewhat required to do.
Right, because he has to have the respect of his contemporaries, and within that, he can't give all the way in. But in his red book, he does. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like in his personal approach isn't what he kind of gave to psychology, and it's because I think he feared being viewed as insane, right,
Well, no,
and
he even
not on the
said it
same
in his
level as
own.
as contemporaries.
Well, he said it in his own work, and it's kind of just apparent that what works for one person might not work for another. So what he had for himself might not work for everyone else. And if you read something like Man and His Symbols, it would show that, all these different things, all these different ideas and beliefs and concepts, they're beneficial in that, if it works for you, it works for you. He's not going to claim that he has the one way. He's not going to claim that you do. He's just going to encourage you to explore something that helps you.
I can see that. Well,
So it's like
but my
self
issue with it is like, okay, especially from my own tradition standpoint, is like with Christ, he doesn't say like, whereas other religions will say this, they'll be like, well, yeah, Christ is, one of the Buddhas, or yeah, Christ is a prophet, or Christ is, one of many ways to truth. Like within our tradition, it's saying, I am, Christ is saying, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And that's not denouncing that truth can't be in other traditions. It's just saying that just like broken reflections in water, you know, you'll find pieces of the truth, but the fullness of truth is somewhere. So I think that from an outside perspective, that would seem like, well, that's limiting. But within the tradition itself, it seems like those other aspects are limiting in the sense that they're not even considering the possibility that one truth could be the fullness of truth. So I don't know.
One may be, one may not be. We'll just have to see when we all fucking die.
That's very poetic. Um, I was trying. I had a very particular thought. Well, I guess I'll go back to the cultural appropriation idea because I think. Well, okay. A couple things I'll say really quick because this may not be directly related to what you guys are on, but I would say that well,
What would you say?
cultural appropriation is real. I mean, I've learned this habit of from Pill Eater where when people start criticizing, Anglo-Saxon, you know, colonization and stuff like this, you just kind of point out like, is that English that you're speaking right now, or it's like I just, it's very like transgressive, to like make people like think of how they're even forming their own ideas or supposedly their own ideas, like they're. It's kind of like funny, like to critique certain things, you have to adopt part of that into your belief structure, right? And I think that's one of the arguments that people try to use against Christianity, which I don't really mind it. I understand why other people do. I kind of don't really care. I think it's a valid criticism for everything other than Christianity, which sounds like a cop out, but I don't think it is. But I think it's good because it kind of it gives people something to sharpen their knife upon, right? That's the way I look at Christianity, really in general. So criticism doesn't really bother me. But I guess on another level, I would say that stop, buddy. I'm trying to think another way to put it. The other thing is like the noble lie idea, right? Um, like Blavatsky, or like when people get triggered about Blavatsky, or something like that, right? Like I understand why people get triggered by it, but at the same time, like I would say that like it almost doesn't even matter if it's true or not because you'll never really know if it's true or not. And so I'm not defending like lies or propaganda per se, but what I'm also saying that it's kind of it's unavoidable for most people because most people don't know what truth is, and unfortunately,
Right.
So so to sit there and think that you can pick every single thing apart and that makes you righteous, I don't think that's necessarily true either, right? Um, it kind of makes me. I think a lot of times it makes people self-righteous. So like with the Blavatsky thing, like my approach to like this whole like it's kind of why I use a lot of the alt-right imagery and stuff like that because I think it's funny. Like I can make it mean something totally different than what these people make it, right? Like so, I don't really see the symbols as bad, you know. I see them as effective, And if I'm trying to get people back to the truth, anyways, then I have to meet them where they're at or break up the scar tissue around whatever lies that they're involved in, right? So maybe that's a weird way to look at it, but that's kind of like the only way I can see it if you're trying to look at things on a practical level. Now, if we're just talking about a spiritual level, then definitely, that's a different story. Sorry, I'm trying
Yeah.
to add this person in the back here. Um, there's someone in the back, and I don't know how to add them to the thing. Can you reload your thing, person in the back who haven't let up on the thing? Because it won't let me add you to the screen for some reason. But yeah, I mean, I think like the whole Blavatsky stuff and stuff like that, like the people are looking like when you read his and actually I heard Jay Dyer say this the other day, so I'll kind of steal his line on it. He said, "Look, the
Dude,
truth is like Go ahead, sorry.
I'm playing with you, man. Go.
Yo, I know. No, I heard him say something the other day, and I think there's some truth in what he said. Although I think he was using this truth for a different reason, which kind of illustrates my point. But he said something to the effect of like, "Well, I'm a master's in history, and in history you have to you have to do a lot of guesswork and assumptions. So I mean, what a stunning admission, which seems obvious, but at the same time, it's like that means that you can and people will always take license with
Well, I mean, yeah, but
narratives essentially.
sometimes it's like with assumptions, right? Like in the modern world, in the modern like sort of materialistic atheistic worldview, it's almost as if you can know you can't know anything, right? It's like an educated guess doesn't exist, right? And it's like, well, sometimes the obvious is there, and it feels like that's where like you have things like absurdism, where the obvious will be there, but they don't like the obvious, so it's just like, yeah, that you can't know that. You know what I mean? You ever see that?
Um, perspective because it's kind of like a real life video game where people can participate in different narratives or games in their own mind, essentially about what's true, what's not true, what can you make yourself into. Claudia's gone now, so somebody tried to join, but dropped out. But you get what I'm saying. No, no.
Wait, what happened?
Sorry, I'm talking to my son. He's over here like bothering people. But yeah, hopefully that made some sense with the narrative construction, video game life. I mean, that's my problem with Young, to be honest with you. I think that
Well,
it just kind
he
of invites this kind of like, you know.
Father Share from Rose has a really good critique on Young. He makes him look so stupid, dude. It's funny. Um, but like I found that out like a lot. Like you'll have these sort of like monks that went out into the desert somewhere, and like the contemporary of that age, whatever it is, like let's say like Thomas Aquinas or somebody like that, right? Or like Plato or something, and then there'll be like the Christian equivalent to that person in that age. And I'm telling you, like every single time, they just look like peons, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, and like, I'll probably get whatever for that, but it's absolutely true. Like you look at somebody like Saint Justin Martyr, and look at the philosophers of his time period, like 100 AD, like go to there, and no one comes close. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. It's actually crazy. Um, or like
So
you
you're
just
saying that he tries to like Young tries to appropriate all these people?
well, I think that Young just sort of, like I said, he balances on a coin. Like he wants to be, around his contemporary psychologists and respected in that realm, but then he'll sort of avoid, like he won't follow out his thought to the end. You get what I'm saying? And it's like if he did, and like this whole concept, like, oh, he has a balanced view of it. It's like, but that's not how you come to truth. You know what I mean? It's like you don't say the comfortable thing. You go to the point where you know it, you explain the phenomenon, right? And it's not explaining the phenomenon. It's reasoning with the phenomenon in a logical way that's acceptable to your contemporaries. You get what I'm saying? Like he can't say, "Oh,
Well,
this thing is, that's biting you in your sleep. That looks like a demon is a demon." He has to reason with it and say, Well, it's REM sleep. You get what I'm saying? And there's a point where logic and reason can explain the supernatural. It just can't, you know? Some things aren't logical, some things aren't reasonable, some things are beyond our comprehension or, our everyday understanding of the way things work. And if you're not willing to go there, then you're limiting your understanding, right? And that's the thing that I would say the monks have over the philosophers is that they think the lowest form of understanding is human logic and reason. So there's a whole other level here. This divine revelation news, this is a level above that understanding. So, and I'm not like being cocky with it, it's just what it is, right? So if you're getting direct contact with God and you're experiencing the uncreated light, and I don't know, somebody's like raising the dead or something, or like bilocation, or speaking another language they don't know, um that's superior to human understanding, right? And how do you explain that if your only understanding is within the rational, reasonable, logical world?
Yeah, sorry, I'm have my hands full, literally. So I would say that the way one of the quotes I think is like one of the most uh, deceptive, I guess, for lack of a better word or phrase, I guess, to the effect of like, um, you know, an advanced enough an advanced enough technology would be indistinguishable from magic or something like that, right? Like, because that's how they would say it, like, well, there's some sort of magic you can do to attain or mystical, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, try to make everything like you can just do it yourself, pull yourself up by your technological bootstraps or something, right? So it's like, or even technique, or like, like spiritual technique or something, like, oh, if I say the chant in the right way to the demon over here, I'll be able to get it or something. But I think
Right.
from a Christian standpoint, we think like, well, there's no, you know, there's no telling when God might intervene, right? So even if you do all the things that you're supposed to do as a monk, it doesn't mean that Jesus is going to come down and just magically give you the ability to, you know, do, Superman stuff or something, right? So,
No, and even then, like especially within this type of situation where like ascetics, right? It's like even if you were to perform miracles, that doesn't always mean they're from God,
right,
right? Even if you're a Christian monk, and what I mean, like Saint Nikitas of the Key of Caves, this guy was telling people where gold was and telling them their future and doing all this stuff, but he was doing it with the help of a demon,
right.
and
And
all
and
these.
he would happily do that for your own destruction just as much as he would do it to as God would do it to give you something. Like,
Well, to humble you, right? You know what I'm saying? That's like really,
okay,
he
tell you give it the
reached
regular.
a higher level of sanctity later on, but it was after repenting because he sort of fell into this trap where he was like, I'll never fall into deception, right? Well, guess what? He fell into deception, and he felt
No, that's not true. That's impossible.
right. Well, that's the outlook, and it says something in the scriptures. It's like even the elect can be led astray, and like that's the biggest issue we have with a lot of these like contemporary elders in world orthodoxy is that they're very similar to Saint Nikitas of the Key of Caves, and the fact that they might have performed miracles and they did things in front of people, but what is the outcome, right? If it leads you into a situation where your patriarch is praying with the Pope, something's wrong, right? like like there's something wrong with the miracle. If the miracle is like used to support like heresy, then you need to ask the question: is this from the devil? Right?
Well, so I met a monk. I have his book still. I found it the other day. Um, I had this monk in Thailand. He was a white guy from Chicago,
Chicago.
and I can't remember everything he said, but essentially he told me something to the effect of like after 7 years basically living in a cave. Um, and I went, and he didn't live in the cave anymore when I met him because he was just a little too old
Yeah.
and feeble to like get up and down the stairs. But I went up to this cave and looked inside. He's like, "Go look, go take." He's like, "Go take a look and then come back and we'll talk." And I mean, it was a serious fucking cave, in the jungle, like not really a jungle. It's kind of like farmland, but you know, it was rural. I'll put it that way. Like I could tell that like probably 100 years ago there was much lower density of population living in that area, to say the least, right?
Right.
And all farmland, growing like wheat, rice, stuff like that. So, and then there's like, and so the weird thing about Thailand as well is like it's like really flat, hilly, and then like there'll just be this giant mountain range in the middle of like nowhere. So it's just like this giant mountain that just seems to pop out of the ground, right? Like very
Yeah.
abruptly, you know what I'm saying? So kind of a weird place, to say the least. And anyway, so sitting there talking with him, and he basically tells me like some of these miracles essentially that he had performed, and I believe the guy. Like, I mean, he didn't strike me as. I mean, he could be a schizophrenic. I mean, I leave that on the table, but I generally just believe that he was telling me what he had experienced of like basically bilocation, that he was like sitting in the cave, then suddenly he was literally in a building during an earthquake and like helped this lady find her way out and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? So,
That's a pretty. I would say that one would be a hard one for the demons to do. Just saying.
right. And he thought maybe it was an hallucination and stuff, and then one day he was close to like one of these cities, and so he's like in a, I guess you would say like a suburb of one of the major cities there.
Yeah.
uh, and that's where we're at. And then one day he was in that city and ran into the person who recognized him from that event. So that like kind of
Okay. So
for him
then that would
confirmed that.
mean that was like a, this was God setting up that situation to where it could confirm it not only for him but the person that's seen it. All right. Um, I'll give you something very similar to that story. Okay. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I'll tell you that there's an elder, right? And this elder was at a motel room, and he was in prayer at this motel room, and he was out of town for something. Okay. Well, there was a monk at this monastery. Okay. And the monk at the monastery had left the oven on. And during this time, I guess, that he was in prayer, the elder did some bilocation. He came to the window and he knocked on the window of the monastery while he's still at the hotel room, right? He knocks on the window and he points to the stove because it was going to blow up. You know what I'm saying? And the monk seen him and turned it off. Well, a couple days later, he comes back to the monastery and he thought that the same thing, like, well, this probably was like an illusion or something. Well, the guy comes running out and saying, "Was that really you? Was that really you that, pointed at the stove?" It's crazy.
No, I think, and again, like I know that sounds like schizo to normal people, and like I mean I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, like um, I mean I'm gonna say it in a funny way, but like I've always basically believed that to quote Sarah Silverman, Jesus was magic and Jesus is magic. I mean I hate to say it that way, but you get the idea. Like
Maybe
Um,
I would say
you know,
grace. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, I know
common
I'm
grace.
being
But
facetious. I don't want to say
I know
I'm
you
not
are.
being
But
literal, but you get it.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Just for my own soul, I guess I
No,
said
you
that's
no.
what.
I'm glad you corrected because I don't want to like seem like blasphemous. I'm just trying to like
Well, that's what the Romans said too, because they were like, well, yeah, well, he did all his miracles because he was a magician. They kind of just said it like that, and that's what the Jays say too. Like they say that he sewed the name of God in his leg, and stole it from the temple, and that's how he was able to raise the dead or something. And the Freemasons say something similar. They say like he just went over, he went to Egypt and Tibet and all these other places and learned all these mystical arts, and then that's how he did his miracles. Well, of course, we don't believe that. I mean, we think that there's a distinguishing factor between magic and the grace of God. Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting that you told that story because I have that similar story. You know what I mean? And I think that they kind of complement each other in the fact, they're talking about the same thing, bilocation, and then a later, meeting up of, to confirm it. So I think that just off of my understanding of things is like that was probably a true miracle.
Right.
Like,
Well, and I would say it like this. Like I think I can't remember exactly what he said, but I asked him something to the effect of like, well, how do you feel about Christianity or this kind of stuff? He's like honest, and he basically said something very affirmative of Christianity, even though
uh,
he was technically a Buddhist monk. You know what I'm saying? And
oh wait, he was Buddhist. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
oh, this is a Buddhist monk, yeah. But I got the effect. I mean, I think a lot of times people like this. I mean, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I think that a lot of these people, and this is kind of what I'd say about Kurt Cobain as an example too. Like, I think a lot of people, like, I don't think Buddhism is a theistic thing. I think it's like a non-theistic religion, personally, right? Like, I know that it has the whole Hindu stuff and whatever, but I don't think Buddhism is really like a religion. Does that make sense? I mean, I could be
I
wrong,
get
but
what you're trying to get at. Like it's sort of like how Lao Tzu looked at like his beliefs, right? Where it wasn't he never really intended it to be a religion. It was more like a worldview.
yeah, like I don't see any. For me personally, I don't see any distinction between trying to say that I'm a Christian and a Taoist because I don't see Taoism as a religion. I see it as a
I see the
comprehension of
difference.
nature or something, you know.
I see
So,
the difference between the teachings of Lao Tzu and modern Taoism. I guess you're right.
and what?
Like modern Taoism, like the
Oh yeah,
modern
yeah,
take on Taoism, I would say that is a religion, right? And like it falls more into like mystery, new agey type, and it's like heading in that direction. I think that Lao
well, I
Tzu was
mean,
probably more closer to
I agree with you. Yeah.
like an ascetic understanding of the world, and I think that he probably was at the limit of human understanding right before you reach like divine revelation, and maybe in God's mercy he was revealed things that would lead to a full understanding of the logos, right? And in the same sense that I believe that even within these other traditions, like for instance like Hinduism, like I believe that there is truth there, but I think it's not the fullness of truth. I think there's pieces of truth, and that's what I kind of like. I'll say this: like I think the devil does that. I think the devil will take aspects of truth and he'll give it to these people because you got to remember this is an angel that was in heaven, so he knows the plan to a certain degree, right? And he'll give it to the people. He'll give the truth, but then it's like that 1% that's a lie kind of taints the whole thing, right?
Well, yeah, I agree, and I think that like it's like this. Like again, I know that again, this is not a. I'm theological authoritative way because that's not my ability to roll. Although, and I'm not saying that as a cop out. I'm just saying that because I'm definitely analogizing things to make a point. So I would say that right now I'm engaged in rhetoric essentially. So anybody listening, don't think this is like me blaspheming or something. But I think that like for me, like when I say that I'm a Taoist, I say that like I've read the Tao Te Ching once, one translation, and I think that that makes me a Taoist in the sense that like I got so much out of that I could say that like it will forever change the way that I view reality, myself, God, stuff like that. Now, does that mean that I worship the Tao as God? No. Whatever that means to other people, I don't know. What I would say is like, it would probably change my perspective and really just reinforce my Christian sensibility. Right? When I read, and when I read Paul, Paul is like Lao Tzu on steroids, in my opinion. So I think Paul is like the continuation of, or the leveled up version of Lao Tzu. Now, I'm not saying that that means that there's nothing to get from Lao Tzu at all. I'm just saying that like I see it as like, I think Paul really was just like the next step above that. You know what I mean? Like I think that's someone who obviously had a little bit more of a revelation given to him, on a spiritual level, So
Definitely, the same. Well, like I think the closest Taoist text we have in the Bible, and I'll be honest with it, is John. It's like in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. You know,
right.
um, or in the
No, I
beginning
agree.
was the
I can
Logos.
agree with you. I don't
And
remember. I don't
I'm not
remember.
like denying
I
that
don't remember
Paul was.
John that much though.
I'm not denying that Paul wasn't there too, because he was. He understood the same thing. Um, but yeah, it's like it's one of those things that it stops being. It's not where the level up is that the Logos is no more an idealistic concept with like Heraclitus or something, or Lao Tzu. It's no more impersonal. It's like the Tao that can be told is nameless or something. It's like now we have a name. Now we have it in flesh. Now we have the incarnation. Now the Tao has walked amongst us, and now the Tao has fully revealed himself to mankind, right? And it's like, wow, like now that you have that experience, and not only does the Tao walk with John, in the 12, and not only does Paul see him on the road to Damascus, they conversate with him. They have a direct connection to, the creator. So it's like, yeah, of course it's going to be a level up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's, and I think that, and Father Seraphim said this. He said that if Lao Tzu would have been alive when Christ walked the earth, he would have seen the Tao within him and would have followed Christ, right? So that's something interesting. Or seeing him as the Tao, rather. Yeah.
Welcome, Inuit. Welcome to our chamber, Alea.
What up, man? How y'all doing out here tonight?
We are doing school. We talk is about young and down and all the other things.
I can't really do a German accent that well. But
It's the Tao.
I'm German enough. I'm only like 20%.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just
like,
now.
man, I'm about done with Christianity, man. It fucking sucks. It's a terrible religion, and I'd like to move on from the Jews.
Yeah, I bet you would. You already have moved on to them. You'll Zionists shill a lot.
Yeah, listen, again, I'd like to move away from the Jews, and stop sucking their cock over their, like, religion they created for us.
Whatever, man. You know what you do, bro? You know what you do? You take, the Jewish Gnostic sages, and you just like sort of you don't go to their synagogue, you go to like the Gentile synagogue, like the version of that, right? And you sit there and let one of them teach you. on your checkerboard floor. That's what you do.
I don't know. Keep coping and seething there, Christian boy. You know what I'm saying? I highly doubt your shit's gonna last another fucking 100 years.
Yeah, tell me more about how Christianity's not going to last when it's going to be, you know, an everlasting kingdom.
No one likes your religion anymore. It's
Yeah,
trash
that
and doesn't
puts
have
proof
any
to
rules
our
or morals.
religion, dog. Of course, we already told you that would happen.
Yeah, your religion has no morals, and it has no baseline, and it has no history, and it has no fucking ethnicity and no ancestry.
Now, tell me more about your morals and your history and your, you know, your baseline.
Yeah, listen. I'm willing to accept that, like, I'm trash, right, as a human being, right?
Yeah.
I'm willing to accept that in any real, actual, like, civilization with a proper social structure, I wouldn't exist. That's the difference
I'm
between
glad
me
you
and
admit
you.
it.
I know where I failed. You don't know where
Hey,
you
look,
failed.
I say I'm the chief of sinners, bro. So what do you want me to say, man?
Yeah, like, you know, I was knee deep in a female like an hour ago. I mean, who I was not married to. This is normal for me. My life is not like
Oh, I bet
everybody
it.
else.
You know
But
what?
again,
I
I
don't
shouldn't
believe
exist.
you. I think you're a liar, dude. I think you're lying.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a liar.
You are a liar, and you just lied about that. And why did you do that?
Yeah, listen, I'm a liar. You know, I mean, 100%. That's what I
Why
do. I
did
run
you
around
lie
lying
about that?
just all the time.
Why are
Yeah.
you lying? Why do you feel the need to lie?
Or maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like your Christians are just coping and seething.
You know what? Even if I were to cope and seethe over something you said, which I'm not,
Again,
what
like no
validity
argument
would
against
that have
anything,
to you?
right? No argument against anything. Attack the messenger.
Yeah,
Again, more
what do I have to
Christian
argue
bullshit.
with? You're arguing against the truth.
Your religion's trash.
Yeah. God, comes back from the dead with the teeth of the devil in his hands and the keys to hell, and it's trash. I got you.
Your religion is like the Constitution. It drifts constantly.
You don't even know what my religion is, man. You only know what Protestantism is.
I mean, I'm 99% sure I know what Protestantism is.
Exactly. I know you do. I know you know what Protestantism is, but do you know what Orthodoxy is?
Yeah. It's the religion of the Slavs.
No. Wait. You said religion of the Slavs? You know, it
Yeah,
started in Greece.
as I said,
Actually,
Slavs.
before that, really, because, you know, there's never not a time that the church didn't exist, but we won't even go there.
Yeah, when the church didn't exist, there was Hellenism there, right?
Well, I'm saying there was never not a time it didn't exist. That's a direct quote from St. Augustine.
Yeah, again, dumb shit. Why do we keep
How
saying
is
dumb
that
things?
dumb? What's dumb about that? You know, if
Because there's
something
tons
is
of gods that predate yours.
Let me explain this. No, there's not. And I'll explain to you how there's not a God that predates ours. If our God created the world, right? That means that he was before time itself, right? And that your gods are only the
Yeah. I feel
make-believe
you. I feel you.
of your
Listen, you know.
demons, right? It's make-believe religions by demons. So you could be like, oh, well, our gods were first. Yeah, they were
Oh,
first to like push their demonic
yeah.
clownery.
I feel you. Platonistic garbage. Listen, my God created like the universe too. His name's right? And his son Nato like fucking created the living creatures on Earth.
Dog, you're talking about Platonic, and you believe in, you know, the Kabbalah, right?
I don't believe in the Kabbalah, right? I
Oh,
believe
dude,
in
why are you
Nato and
lying, bro? You're the biggest shill on the internet, dude. Stop acting like you're not a Freemason, dude. We know you are.
How am I? Again, I'm not a Freemason.
You've
I'm
said
not a
it
Mason.
multiple times, dude. You've said
I've
it every
never
single
said I
time we've
was a
had a
Mason.
conversation, and you act like
Never.
everybody's just dumb, like the narcissist that you are. Nobody's dumb. We know you're a Freemason Fed, dude.
I'm a Fed now, too.
Well, all Freemasons are Feds, bro. What you talking
I'm
about?
not a Freemason nor a Fed.
You're both. And
I am neither. I've never been in a Mason's lodge. I've been in a Zembo mosque.
dog. Stop
I've been in
LARPing.
the Zembo mosque, right? Because like that's where the circus used to go. And
Yo,
we had a Boy Scout
why are
thing there
you
when I was a kid.
LARPing as a Freemason then? Why are you doing that?
I'm not LARPing as a Freemason.
Then why are you talking about us like that, bro? Because that's the only ones that do that. And up the J's.
No.
Talk
Smart
about
people
us like
do
that.
this
Up the
because,
J's,
like, oh, your shit
Freemason,
is
dude.
garbage. It's garbage.
Why are you up in the J's then?
Again, like, I don't up the J's. I don't like fucking
Why you
worshiping
got
the
gold and
J's
silver then?
religion. Why? Again, because like gold and silver is a good thing to have.
Yeah. Why is your name Jayish Baby Daddy then, huh? Exactly, dude. Freemason, get out my face.
Why is my name Jewish Baby Daddy? Because literally there's a female who created my shit who LARPs as a Jew who's actually like a French chick
Exactly. What's she
from
doing
fucking
LARPing as a
Louisiana.
J? That's some Freemasonic tip, dude. What you talking about?
No, again, like, see, this is the thing. Do you know what a Poe is?
Edgar Allan Poe?
Do you know what a Poe is?
Quote the Raven Nevermore? I don't know, man.
Yeah, okay. So a Poe is when you act like something that you're not to troll other people into like seeing how terrible they are, right? Like I created Glass Joe from Mike Tyson's Punch Out on Twitter, and I made him a Twitter handle. And I got him verified, right? And like I ran around fucking screaming about how white men are the devil, right? And how like I gave out losses like the black boxers.
So you're playing the game, dude.
I'll
So
try.
you're like an agent of chaos for the devil that just runs around
No,
and
I'm just an
causes
agent.
more drama in the world because you're bored, dude.
That whole idea is stupid. And just ways
you
to
just
get people to
admitted
act
that
like.
whole idea and then you call it stupid. See, that's clowning.
No. I'm an agent of chaos for myself, right? Because I'm on my team.
We see that.
I'm on my team, nobody else.
I know, dude.
Yeah. I'm just
Yeah.
in general an agent of chaos. I'm here to fuck everything up.
Yeah, P Shekel. We hear you, bro.
What are you here to do? Right? You're here to like spread the word of the gospel of like a Jewish God. It's dumb. Stop doing that shit.
Yo, son, this is where the ignorance comes in. You talk about a Jewish God. Okay, how could God only be Jewish or something? Like that doesn't even make sense. See, the true Israel are those who follow Christ. So the Jays don't follow Christ. So how could we be following the Jays? That's stupid. See what I'm saying?
Again, listen, all these rules are made up by like y'all, right? Like, yo, you literally make up a rule and then you go, well, I'm rubber and you're glue, so whatever you say bounces
I
off
didn't
of me and
make up
sticks to
the
you.
rules, dude.
Right, you're
What are you
making up.
talking
No.
about? I didn't make
Again,
up the
your
rules.
people who wrote the books made the
Yeah,
rules.
of course they did. There's people that write
These aren't
every
rules
book,
from God.
dude.
They're
But
rules
you don't
from
like
you.
denounce every book because somebody wrote it. That's so stupid. It's like,
You do
a mechanic
too.
wrote this book on this car. We can't use it because someone wrote the book.
Again, I don't believe in what
That's
L. Ron
retarded,
Hubbard
dude.
wrote
I'm
either.
just gonna
I don't
say
believe him. Do you believe in like what L. Ron Hubbard wrote in Scientology? Do you believe that's a real religion? No, it's not.
Show me the correlation
But it's
between
as
L.
real
Ron
as
Hubbard
your
and
religion.
aliens and like incarnating Antichrist and I don't know, like a Messiah that was prophesied over 300 times in the Old Testament and was fulfilled all 300 prophecies. Like, show me the correlation where that makes sense, bro. Show me
Again, right? Your shit is as real as like fucking their shit is.
He doesn't have over 300 prophecies fulfilled in his. Do you understand that? And we don't have a scheme where we just like go get drug addicts off the like damn side of the road and we're like, okay, like you're not a suppressive person anymore or something. Like, that's crazy, dude.
You are barely even able to show that your fucking person even existed, let alone fulfilled any of these prophecies.
Bro, the amount of evidence that shows that Christ existed is more overwhelming than someone like Alexander the Great. But you don't question Alexander the Great. You question Christ. You know
We
why?
literally
Because
found
you
the
have a
tomb of his
cognitive
father.
bias, bro.
We have his bones.
Homie. You know why you don't have Christ bones? Because he resurrected, dude. That's why.
You know why we don't have Christ bones? Because he might not have
resurrected.
existed.
That's why.
Because he might not have existed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're just gonna ignore, all the the different people that wrote histories on that time period that, says he did. All right.
Well, again, right? There's no evidence that he existed.
Wait.
None
Pliny.
of them.
Okay,
There are
wait.
no
Pliny. Who's the
reliable
other one?
sources
Who's the Jewish one? What's his name? What's the Jewish one that wrote? Why would a Jewish guy write about Christ existing?
because the goyim needed a religion to hold them in place.
Oh, you got it, dude. The goyim. This is a modern take, by the way. This didn't come out at that time. No one was like, yeah, like Christianity is like, we made it. They were like, we hate it. Like, make sure you kill those people. That's what they were doing.
Again, your shit is
Explain
trash
that.
because it worships Jewish garbage, right? It's literally a religion.
Right.
It's not. It is an
Mythism.
Arabic religion,
Mythism.
and literally the Europeans are pretending it's theirs. Why are the Europeans pretending it's their religion?
You're so stupid. Christ said to preach the gospel to the whole world, homie. It's not like it was just Greeks or just Jews or just
why
this person.
Why
it was
is
for
it
the
that you're
whole
pretending it's your
world,
religion,
bruh?
Yeah, again, it's literally you're preaching fucking Arabic, Jewish, Semitic nonsense.
Yeah, that's why Arabic didn't even exist. It was Aramaic. You damn flat brain hoe. What's up?
Literally, like the same people today.
The same people in name.
They are the same people today.
That was straight in your face.
No difference between an Arab back then and a fucking Aramaic back then and an Arab today. There's no difference. The same fucking people.
Yes, there is. It's like
you're worshiping
Arab
bullshit. This is a fucking desert religion. Desert religion. You guys didn't even invent this religion. It's not yours.
Homie. Do you know that they were Hellenistic Jays, right? So that means that they would have spoke Greek because it was the trade language. And the Bible at that time wasn't only written in Aramaic. I'm talking about the Old Testament. It was also written in Greek.
Okay,
and there was a Latin
because
translation.
the Greeks owned all of
so
that.
you know what that means? And not only that,
all
the philosophers, major philosophers used the Old Testament text to gain understanding of the world around them, and they seen it as a valid text. Yeah.
Again, no. Listen, no, it's not historical, right? But again, this fucking shit is a whole Greek took over this area.
So wait, the Old Testament isn't historical now? The Old Testament isn't historical?
No.
Oh, it's not. So it's just a made up story, right?
There's no evidence, right, of a slave revolt in fucking Egypt.
Let me tell you something. Yes, there is. For one, there is evidence. Not only
there's not evidence
of that, not only is there evidence of that, we have evidence of King David on blocks in Israel in the museum. If you went to that museum, you would find more relics that prove the Bible than you have proof of it not existing, dude. Like, so what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm sure all those were carbon dated and tested. I feel where you are, right?
Yeah,
no,
there are dating
just like there's no existence
of anything.
There's no existence of anyone following. There's no existence of anyone following the Torah before 300 BC.
What? Yo, you're crazy for that one, dude.
No, there's not.
Homie. Do you know how old Genesis is?
Yeah.
How old is it? How old is Genesis?
Like fucking 2,600 years, top end.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So
it's the same myths that got passed down.
Anybody following it for what? 300 BC? You said?
Yeah, they didn't start following these things until 600 BC.
Oh man, now it's 600. Dude, I'm over you, bro. Shut up, man. Go sit down.
Yeah, 300. I'm sorry, 300 BC is the first evidence they have of anyone ever following the Torah.
Right on, dude.
This is the fucking problem. You don't even know anything about the goddamn religion. You literally inherited some shit. That's the fuck. You inherited some shit that was fucking stolen from fucking Jews. It was passed through women and slaves, and that's why you continue to be a slave to it. It feels good to be a Christian.
Here is you to worldly desires, bro.
I'm a free man.
Devils Dingaling. How
go.
about that?
Again, I'm a free man walking amongst
Yeah,
fucking
I
gods.
bet you are. You are a free man, son.
Yeah, I don't have to be tied to shit.
Yeah, you're tied to the devil's wiener.
I'm
How about
tied.
that?
I'm tied to the land like normal human beings are supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
what roots me,
you
not a
love the
religion.
devil, bro. And them demons,
I don't love the devil, right?
yes, you
That's the
do.
problem.
You do.
Listen, I don't love evil. I hate your shit.
Whatever, evil.
I'm not evil in any way.
Bro, anybody who supports Zionism, who supports Freemasonry, and who
Who says I
hates
support
Christ is
Zionism?
pretty
I
evil,
hate
dog.
Zionism. Zionism's trash. I hate Zionism. Like, I think the Israelites are the Israelites should be moved to like fucking Brazil. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about the Jews.
Didn't the Germans like make a deal to move them to like Palestine or something?
Not well, yeah, the Germans and no, the British did. The British made a deal during like after post World War I, right? That was the Balfour Declaration to move them there.
Germany made that same deal, right, with Russians.
No, Germany enforced that deal, right? The same as like fucking Jackson stood here and did the fucking the Trail of Tears.
You know what the
right?
Zionists thought about Mr. H? They basically were like, this is a blessing. Like, we have all this meat to sort of sacrifice for our cause, you know? And then they seen it like, all right, well, since he's doing this, we'll just throw all the blame on him, and we'll get like 60 million Slavs killed in Russia, and make ourselves the victim out of it.
I'm pretty sure it was like 27 million. But I feel where you are. Like I understand your mentality, but that's not what happened, right?
That
Like
is
what
what
happened was
happened.
no.
P.
What happened
Shekel.
was is nobody liked the German Jews, right? They literally like had like fucking epitaph, like racial epitaphs for them because the Jews in New York and the rest of the world didn't like them.
You probably are a German J, bro.
I'm Italian, I'm Calabrian.
I
can
knew
trace
it,
my
dude. You're the
history.
most racist people on the planet,
I
by the
can
way.
trace my history back to like fucking the 10th century.
Tell me this, dude. What's up with like P2 and like the Catholic Church and like the banks over there and all that weird stuff your people do, man?
We're trying to like do our own thing, right? And the Catholic Church as a whole, like how it used to work was that like they stood here and maintained the sovereignty of the man in the household, like fucking like Roman Paterus and shit, right? And like that ended because like the kings of countries wanted to make men slaves.
Wait. So you think men are not slaves anymore?
No, I think men are slaves. I think like the government's literally like the merchants enslaved like the people after the kings did.
Okay, because right now we're dealing with Marxism on a two-wing Marxism. Like one is like the capitalist globalist, and then you have the Marxist, globalist. And we're kind of somewhere in the middle of those two, sort of trying to take over the world. And your people are majoring it, bro. What's up with these Italian Freemasons? You know what I'm saying? And the mob, which is another secret society that's connected with Masonry, and the
Yeah, I
Jesuits
know. I know.
infiltrated the Catholic Church and all
Liberals
that.
hate anything that isn't like democratic and open. I get it.
No. I because I'm a monarchist. Why would I like, the arms controlling the head on a body? That's stupid.
Well, again, so then you need things to be secret. You need men to be able to make moves without your knowledge.
Oh, exactly. That's what I mean. I always get you to admit it. You just come out with it every single time. I thank you.
Yeah. Listen, I have no problem with people being like in charge who have responsibility and like giving them commensurate authority. Like
You
that's
have
how
no
the world's
problem
supposed to
with,
work.
setting up a one world religion with, one world country and an antichrist as the leader.
No. I don't want like one world religion. I want local religions. I want paganism back. Like paganism sounds fake.
Oh, it sounds based. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Mm.
I like to have rural people to be able to have like rural celebrations and roots and cultures that hold fast and actually create children and have like civilizational
Because
capital
that's
to pass
manly,
down.
right? Paganism is manly.
But number one, but also on top of that, it like creates civilizational capital.
It's so strong, dude. You know that there's
Yeah.
nothing stronger than kicking a homeless person in the head.
I mean, listen, Protestants do it all the time. Say I'm wrong.
I'm not going to say anything about Protestantism. It is what it
That's the
is.
majority of Christians nowadays are literally like some form of weird Protestantism.
I feel like you are.
Yeah, no, like I don't like Protestantism, right? Protestantism became progressivism. Progressivism is fucking fake and gay.
Dude, your whole, the Z's, I mean, as in the Zionists, are in control of Protestantism. You should be all for it. What are you
That
talking
again, the
about?
Anglos are in control with the goddamn Zionists.
Homie, why are you against Protestantism when it supports the Jays more than anybody else, dude?
Okay, all right. You do understand the Anglos run the world, right?
Anglos.
Yeah, the Anglos run the world. The white
No, they
Anglo-Saxon
don't.
Protestants,
No, they
they run the
don't,
world.
dude. What are you
Yes, they do.
talking? That was the most absurd thing I've ever heard in the world. They're
Okay,
set up
so
by the
you do
Jays
know.
over here, right? They're set up over here
No.
to put funding for Israel, brother.
No, this goes back way further than like, I
Listen
mean,
to
like fucking
Shiller.
the
You're gonna explain this
1920s.
one away. I guarantee. What is Russia paying you, dude? What's going on right now? Who's
All right,
paying you?
so like you understand that like the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? The British Empire, right, turned into like the American Empire. That's why the American Empire is doing the same thing that the Brits did. They literally had the same exact policies.
Wait, you were Roman Catholic?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
born one, right? That's what I
yeah,
was
bro.
baptized as.
Wow, dude. You papist. You're a papist apostate.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have no issue with like that shit. You know what I mean? Um, I find issues with the Catholic Church, but it's not so much the structure as it is like the lack thereof of like fucking willpower to kill
So how
pedophiles.
much is Russia
Right?
paying you?
Why would Russia be paying me?
Because they want to like infiltrate like conservative ideology to push Putin as based into the West. You know what I mean? You know.
Yeah. I mean, like I've thought about that, right? I have. I've given much thought to the fact that like I do, and have come to the same conclusions as Alexander Dugin, right? Like quite often,
Oh,
right?
have you?
That I have, right? But like I'm not a big fan of like Slavs in Russia. But you know, what I mean, I do think that Russia like is a better like geopolitical
Neither was
partner for
Stalin,
America.
dude.
No. I think Russia's a better geopolitical partner for America than like Britain is, right? But
Yeah. What
right?
did Putin and Trump say in that phone call recently at the U.S.?
I don't even listen.
You
I
know what they
actually
said?
did read it,
They
but I
said
don't
we
remember.
both need to protect Israel, and that's your talking point.
No.
Yeah, he
I
getting
don't
that
like
tool,
Israel.
him pulling
Again,
the money exactly, dude.
I don't like Israel. Like as a whole, I don't like it.
Oh, well, then why are you supporting it all the time, dude?
I've never supported Israel. I say it's not the Jews, it's the Anglos.
Always
That's
thing.
like that's a weird foundation for you. Like I get it, right? I do. The Jews are the Anglos' pets.
Reverse that. Bop it.
Now,
Twist
I
it.
know it seems. I know. Like it seems. Again, the Jews are literally the Anglos' pets.
Uh-huh. We get it, dude. You're paid.
Nah, the Jews are the Anglos' pets.
Hey, man,
The
I ain't gonna knock
Anglos
us,
are in
dog.
charge.
You gotta
The
get paid
Anglos
somehow,
are
bro.
the muscle. They are the muscle. They are the finances. They are the resource. Right?
So
The
when
Jews are
when
the
exactly did you
international
become a
merchants.
paid shill, and become, start glowing as bright as you do?
I'm like, yeah, listen, I'm not saying anything that anyone else is saying.
I
I'm
know there's a
literally
whole
like,
lot of you saying this, dude. And I'm wondering, like, how much money can they give out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Have you? All right. So listen, you weren't raised in upper class societies. Apparently, I was.
Hold
right? I
up.
was raised
Hold up.
around politicians. Wait, I was raised around politicians and like senators and I mean
Did you
fucking
say I
mayors and
was
goddamn
raised in
mobsters.
upper class society? Did you
I
say
was,
that?
yeah, I was, yeah, I was,
I was
right?
not.
Yeah, I know,
So I could
right?
just
So
spot you pretty
I'm
easily.
telling you from like somebody who sat at the tables with these fucking people, the Anglos are the fuck in charge.
No,
Yes,
no.
everybody else is literally just trying to break off a piece for themselves.
Ask JFK if the Anglos are in charge, bro.
JFK was not an Anglo.
Okay, what was he?
JFK was an Irishman.
Yeah, yeah. An Irishman in America, dude. What are you talking about, dude? Get up.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like you do understand that like most like Anglos fucking hate the Irish, right? They hate the Irish, especially when the Irish claim to be Irish, right? The Anglos only like Irish when like they claim that they're fucking like Anglos, right? So like for instance, the Scottish Enlightenment, all that shit, every invention came out of like Scotland and Ireland, but like the British claim it for themselves, right? Like if you ever have a chance to talk to an Anglo, right? Listen to them. They will stand here and tell you that like if they don't win, right? If they're not expansionary, they're gonna die. That's their attitude. They've been in charge for a long time.
Bro, you know what it is? You do the whole it's both the divide and conquer game and then the unite and rule game. You
Well,
play two
well,
games,
well,
and like
really.
your biggest thing is to like push racial tensions, man. Why are you doing that?
Well, really quick, I will have a
I'm not
question.
pushing racial tensions.
Why are the Jays so high up in the hierarchy if it's the Anglos running things?
Well, all right. So the vast majority of like bankers are actually Anglos, right? They're not even like fucking Jays. The Jays run like the media, right? You know what I mean? Just because they're better at it as a whole. Because the Anglos, a lot of them don't have souls. But like the Anglos, literally like are the finance behind most of this shit. Like that big, like all right, when you're looking at like a structure, right, and especially like the financial structure, the institutional investors, like the guys who like they've had money for a century, 2 centuries, 4 or 5 centuries, they're Anglos. They're not Jews.
So, are you saying that like the Ashkenazis are essentially like wolf in sheep's clothing that kind of adopted that for some sort of uh, camouflage or something?
Yeah, yeah. Like the Jews literally try their best to pretend to be Anglos. They're not like they're like the Anglos aren't pretending to be Jewish, right? The Jews pretend to be white, like they pretend to be Anglos.
All right, let's go
Then
pee.
why are you pretending to be Jay?
I'm Italian. I told you this already. Like, did you not listen to when I said I was Italian?
No, 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 no. I understood you, but I think you're just like you're like Joe Pesci in Casino, where like oh boy, like he's telling him like, yo, you got to get out of town, and you're like, look, Jay, you don't tell me what to do, but he's really telling you what to do.
Yeah, no, no. Like both of them worked for somebody else. They worked for an Italian back home,
Homie,
right?
who is the shekel you must?
Yeah, yeah. Again, so like the guy
Is
who
this
was
your homie?
telling him to get out, the guy who was telling him to get out of town, right, was scared of what the Italians were going to do to him. That's why he was telling him this, and that's why I'm telling you, right, that literally like the Jews are working for the fucking Anglos.
Wait. So they're working for the mob. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, the Jews are working for the Anglos. In the
No,
movie,
they're
though,
working
like
for you,
fucking,
bro.
they don't work for me. Nope. Like the mob is barely existing anymore. The vast
Yeah,
majority of
that's
their
what he wants you to
resources
believe.
are now tied up in like weird banks and like real estate holdings that you would never even recognize that are mob. Like the big warehouse complexes and shit. Those are all old mob shit. I'll be right back. I gotta go do shit.
So what did we learn?
I mean, I'm definitely open to the argument of Anglos being in charge. I mean, I've heard the argument said in a half-assed way, but I want to know the mechanics of how that actually works. I mean, I've never
Do you
had that
really believe it?
explained. I mean, I'm not saying I believe it. I just want to hear the argument about why that might be, how that could be the case. Because I'm not saying that there's no truth in it, but to say that they're at the tippy top, I mean,
That sounds ridiculous to me, honestly. Like, that
I
sounds like
mean,
the biggest chivalry
well,
I've ever heard, dude.
well, I guess it depends on what you mean by Anglo, because like,
Yeah,
I
what is he
mean,
talking about? Is he talking about old white guys, or something? So maybe there's truth to that in America, right? You know what I'm saying? A little bit. Or like, what is he talking about? Like the British Empire or something? Which, I mean, I'm sure there's some truth there.
I'm not
Anglo-Saxons.
sure.
Okay,
That's what I'm
so
trying
that's
to.
the white race.
All right, buddy. All right, let's go.
I can't find my wallet, dude. What?
Y'all stop talking.
Sorry, look, I lost service for a second, so I just got back outside. But I was just saying, I want to hear the argument. I mean, I've never heard it successfully argued that the Anglos are in charge. I mean, I think there's some element of truth to it, but to what extent you want to take it to, I mean, I'm not sure how far, because like I'm Anglo, right? And I'm
Right.
definitely no one I know is that's no one that's my kind of Anglo is in charge, and we're Scottish and German and some other shit mixed together, you know. So I don't know exactly what it. I mean, I think that you're right in the fact that Scottish people are, bloodthirsty, ruthless people that are invent a lot of shit that other people take credit for sure. I agree with that part, but
He's talking about the
uh,
Scottish Rite, then, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think Scottish Rite is Scottish per se. I think it may have been formed there. I don't think it's like I don't know. No Scottish people I know or grew up around were Freemasons. So I mean, I'm sure there was some around somewhere, but no one I ever knew. Like
I mean, like
I never saw
literally,
white people in Freemasonry.
it's called the Scottish Rite.
Yeah, I just said that.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Listen, again, so like all this shit is Anglo. This whole thing is like that's why the Jews impersonate the Anglos. Right? The Anglos aren't impersonating the Jews.
Dude, but that's the thing with Freemasonry. What is the synagogue? What is the Masonic temple? It is the synagogue for the Gentiles, homie. And they got literal Jays going there to teach the Kabbalah. Like, come on, bro.
Listen, again, Masonry is supposed to be not like Kabbalistic. It's supposed to be get the name of it. Fucking shit. There's a name for it. It's something. God damn it. I'm trying to think of the name. Fucking goddamn. What the hell's the name for secrets? It's like secretly encoded.
A cult.
Yeah, cult, right? It's occult knowledge.
What do you think the Kabbalah is? That's Jewish Gnostic sages pushing the occult, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like but the fucking shit that like they're teaching it like a Masonic thing, right? Is just occult knowledge as a whole, right? Part of it might be Kabbalistic. There's a bunch of it that's probably like Eastern. There's some of it that's like, but I have no idea to be honest with you. I've never been to Mason lots, right? But like, it's not all, you know what I mean? Like fucking, like Kabbalistic shit, right? It's not all Jewish Gnosticism, right? This is the fucking problem. Like you just make the assumption that it's the Jews, right? As most poor white people do, right? Which is weird. I don't know why y'all fucking blame the Jews. Like the Jews have literally like not ever been in fucking control.
Really, dude.
So
Okay, so
so
those
so you would say
banking
that
those
they're middle.
banking families don't count. That like sort of were over like all the money of multiple like nations, their economics. So that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, like kings used Jews because Christians had it was illegal for the Christians to do usury.
Right. So my point is that the Freemasons are yes, they use aspects of the Kabbalah and other forms of Gnostic and mystery school teachings, like you got like Memphis Mizraim and all that stuff. When in Russia, who were the provincial government? Who were they? They were the majority Jays, Zionist Jays, right? That took over, right? And these same
They
players
didn't
are
take over.
playing
They
with
were already
England and all
there.
these
The
other people.
vast majority of communists were fucking Jewish, right?
That's what I'm talking about, dude. So what are you talking about? That they haven't been a major player or something and they've never been in control? Yes, they have. Russia for one. In fact, who's in control of Russia today, and who's in control of America today, besides the Zionists, homie?
I mean, for me, the thing that Pinoy said that stood out to me is he said, "Well, it's not the Anglos pretending to be Jews; it's the Jews pretending to be Anglos." Well, then wouldn't that be? I mean, I'm just saying, like, couldn't that indicate that the Anglos, quote unquote, at the top are actually Jews in disguise? I mean, I'm just saying that's a possibility based on what he said. Or the other way I would say it is like, well, if the Anglos are in charge, why are they sacrificing their own people to get more power at the cost of getting rid of their own people like myself and poor whites, and not bringing them into their ranks as soldiers
Because
or something? Like that's what I don't understand. Right? So
this is what it is, okay? Because you'll notice this with the Zionists when they did this in Russia and in Germany. They looked at the average Jewish person as sacrificial meat, right, for the cause. All right, and they thought that, well, we need at least this particular number of people, and then our Messiah will return. That was the thought process behind that. But these people don't think in terms of people or politics. They think in terms of resources and money. They don't want anybody involved. The least people involved with the highest degree of it, the better. You know what I mean? Because that means more for me and less for you. That's really it. Like, why would they invite? You know what I mean? It's like they don't care that they're the same race. It's not about that.
well, well, but I'm saying if the Anglos are in charge, like, why would they trust anyone of any race other than themselves? So, like, why put the Jews in charge? Like, even if a bunch of Scottish people are bad at banking for some weird reason, like, why wouldn't you just put them there because they're your people and you could trust that they're gonna like
Why would they
think like you and
business?
do what you want, right?
Business because they have access to things that they don't have. They have to do business with them. You know what I mean? It's like
Well,
um,
I know, but I'm trying to run with Pinoy's argument. Like, if his argument holds water, I'm saying, like, if his argument holds water, then what's the rationale? Like, you're not going to find an Indian person saying, "Well, let me hire this black guy to run my store because or what." You get the idea. You know, like, go to India. There's not a lot of Indian people. Like, let me hire somebody of a different race because it's going to help me make money or something. Like, they're going to hire people that look like them and talk like them and think like them and they can communicate with, right? I'm just saying, like, I don't get the rationale of. Again, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying or whatever. I'm trying to understand the logical, like, way this would fit together. Like, I don't see how. Yeah, to me, it's the biggest. Like, obviously, there's some truth to the fact that whites are kind of being systematically wiped out. I mean, relative to every other group on the planet. I mean, so I mean, as far as I can tell, if the Anglos are doing it to themselves, I mean, it seems like a very stupid strategy. But yet they've controlled the whole world. So I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm not saying
Well,
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying like I'm trying to understand like how that came about.
I'm looking it up right now. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything on this. All right.
Like literally, white people are the only people in the world who don't have like a homeland that they can go to. Like as
This
far
is
as
the
I
first
know.
thing
I
I
mean,
found. It says the British Empire was described as the empire on which the sun never sets, which suggests it went all around the world. Wherever you were in the British Empire, you were always stood in the sun. Respectfully speaking, it must have been cloudy, but you get the idea. This does not mean every country in the world was ran by Britain. Far from it. It meant that at a given point, okay, whatever. All right, Anglo-Saxon misnomer from historians ruled in what became England in a post-Roman world up to Normans, and never total control over all the kingdoms were never not as dominant as people like to think. Okay, so no. Everyone's saying no. No, no, no. So, I don't know. I mean, there's truth to the fact, like the British Empire, sort of has set up people in Constantinople, but those people are Freemasons, and and they're in control of Greece.
yeah,
Freemasons are also in control of Russia. In certain that respect, yes, but they're embedded with the Jays, dude. Like it's one and the same thing. It's not, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, the term British Israelism has definitely come to mean. I mean, to me, it's like you know, a lot of the Jays that are running things basically look like they basically have blonde hair and blue eyes. So, I mean, I guess from that perspective, you could say they're Anglos, I guess. But it's like, okay, so why can't Jamarcus from fucking downtown St. Louis, Missouri, or whatever, go join the fucking synagogue tomorrow and rise the ranks and be the new leader, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, personally, that's what I advocate for. I think we should encourage the inner city youth to go and join every synagogue and then see how they run the society, or go join all the Scottish Freemasons and let's do the real social advocacy here and see how it goes.
I dare you to join them,
Which ones?
the
I
Freemasons.
mean, I don't think I would work out very well for me.
Why not?
Sorry, I'm now with my family and stuff. But I mean, I don't think I follow rules very well, and I don't like, being blindfolded and trusting a bunch of weirdos, and taking oaths that I don't believe in taking oaths like that personally.
In my 20s, I like helped this Freemason fix his cable, and he gave me a paper to join. Like you had to write up like what talk about yourself or something on this piece of paper, and then the lodge supposedly reviews it, and then they make a decision if you go there and you get like black balled or something, white ball, black ball, something. I don't know.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
I said in my 20s, I helped like an older Freemason set up his cable, and he gave me a sheet of paper to fill out. Like, all right, fill out this piece of paper, give it back to me, and then I guess they would do like a lodge meeting, and they would like overlook your record or whatever, you know what I mean? Sort of look into your life, and then decide if you could join or not.
Did you get the invitation?
Huh?
Did they let you in?
No, I didn't fill out the paper.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah.
I was like, no, dude, I'm not filling out this paperwork so you guys could like kind of spy on me or something to get in. I don't know. It just freaked me out.
The first time I ever heard somebody actually seriously talk about joining a lodge, I was doing sales, and this guy came from, I think he came from North Carolina or something like that, and he said something to the effect of like, he said something to the effect of like, I was like, I want to join the Scottish Rite Freemasons, and I was like, why? And this is a ghetto like. This is like a ghetto dude from North Carolina, by the way, or Texas or something. He's like a ghetto, half Asian white guy, wannabe black guy kind of person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why? He's like, oh, it's like that's how you get successful in business. You just join them, and they'll just like invite you to all their stuff or something. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah.
That
And
is true.
so,
And why I say that is because the guy that I work for, he did end up getting me a job working somewhere, but I didn't join. You know what I'm saying? Like he had like a this thing with all these numbers in it, right? And it was like a bunch of Freemason business owners. You know what I'm saying? And he could just like flip through this thing and like call somebody, and then you know what I mean? It's like a really efficient way to get a job because there's like this social networking aspect to it. Don't recommend it because it's sketchy, you know what I mean? But that's one
well,
of
I
the
noticed like here where I live, all the Filipinos join it. Like I saw this. I actually saw a Freemason party somewhere near where I live, and is all these they're all out there celebrating, blah, 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 speaking their native tongue, I guess you'd say, and they're all networking. But it's like it's just bizarre. Like like they just join it and they're so proud, but it's like a very like it looks like they don't even take it that serious. It's like a social club. They get to hang out and talk shit, and a bunch of them have like tattoos and look like criminal related and stuff like that too. So it's like kind of weird. To me, that's what like it's criminal, yeah,
well,
whatever
dude, you gotta
mafia, I
think
guess.
like like all the celebrities do that. Remember that guy that was on like Australia's like Voice or like Got Talent or something that came out and explained like when he won, they told him that he had to become a Freemason. Then he like exposed the whole thing. Remember that? It definitely happens like that. I mean, I guess like within the the entertainment industry, it's like a major thing to join Freemasonry. But I gotta go later, man.
I want to join a secret top cult that's capable of doing whatever they want. Send me an application. Shekel. Shekel.